I mean, we had an idea literally on a pontoon boat in Party Cove, and it grew to a 6-figure business within in a 15-week season. And we're sitting back, we didn't know what to do with it. We're kind of freaking out.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring innovators, disruptors, and creators who are breaking through the status quo to change the way business happens. Today, this is super exciting. We're here with Zach from Anchor, and Zach is an amazing guy. I'm Tyler Kelly. I'm here with my co-host, Michael Johnson. We're actually in Venture Cafe in St. Louis, Missouri. Venture Cafe is a place that connects innovators who are making things happen. Exciting times. So Zach Hatraf.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to have Zach on with us today. I think he has something going on that solves a very important problem, but also from what I understand, you are an athlete in like a
super athlete,
a broad range of athleticism.
I mean, compared to most regular people, right?
What was a super athlete, trying to continue to be an athlete. But yeah, no, I started out as a gymnast when I was 3.5 years old.
Wow.
My dad bartered 8 quarters for a video game. I used to like to play arcade games. Okay. He said, I'll give you 8 quarters if you try out gymnastics. And then 12 years later, I was trying out for the Olympic team. And
wow.
Just beating the hell out of my shoulders and knees and wrists.
I don't like hearing that.
Yeah.
Because my daughter's like, I want to do gymnastics. And I'm like, you're going to, I don't know. So should I let her do gymnastics? She's 8.
It depends on what, So I would say yes. My recommendation would be that it is the most mentally tough sport on the planet. And I even put that up against wrestlers and MMA fighters.
Wow.
So you're one-on-one, right, in a cage with another person. This is even tougher because you're up against yourself, right, a lot of times. And a toe point can be the difference between victory and complete loss, right? Not just making the top 3, but like the entire team, a toe point. That's how close the competitions are. So yes, but don't take it so seriously, right? And never take yourself so seriously, I guess, in that sense.
But so no Olympic team though.
No Olympic team, national team, and since then, just been a series of sports that I've liked to dabble in and try and have fun with. My current one that I'm obsessed with is rugby.
Rugby. We don't hear that too often in St. Louis.
You don't, but you wouldn't imagine it. But St. Louis has one of the best rugby communities in the country. In fact, last year, we produced a national championship team in D3.
Okay.
And we produced a second place in D2, so runner-ups. And we have Lindenwood University, not too far away from here, out in St. Charles, which is, really, really St. Louis. And they're top 3 in the country in D1A rugby. So it actually is a rugby town, even though you may not know it. Go to Forest Park on a Saturday, and you're gonna bring a beer. Bring a couple.
That's awesome. So from professional or almost professional athlete, and you're really just like a passionate athlete, it sounds like, to business, entrepreneur. I guess that's like in many respects, athletes are really good entrepreneurs just because of that inherent drive. Yeah.
People who take their craft seriously, anybody who takes their craft seriously is going to be good at business because that's what it is. And I got lucky enough. My coach, my gymnastics coach is Dr. Jason Selk. He wasn't Dr. Jason Selk. He was just Jason Selk, or Big Red, as we called him back in the day. He's actually the all-time, I think, and I'm not sure if this accolade still exists, but it did at one time. He was the all-time best-selling sports psychology author of all time after I was his student. Okay. So he was actually working on his book with us. I guess I was like a guinea pig, maybe. So Jason Selk is actually still a mentor of mine, and I get to talk to him quite often. So super cool guy. I read his books. I do a lot of that. But I think that's a lot of the reason why I ended up doing things the way I did is not through necessarily the sport itself, but through the coaching and the structure and the mentality it takes to either want to compete at a high level or want to win at a high level, even more importantly.
So what you're saying is essentially like sports and athletics is set up systematically in a way to succeed like you need to in business almost.
Yeah, very much. And for me, a win is a win, right? And we used to call them hits, right? You would hit your routine. And so gymnastics is a series of 6 sports all culminated up into one all-around competition, right? And so if you got 6 hits on your routine, you hit 6 out of 6, you were probably going to place in the top 2 or top 3. There was no doubt. You didn't even have to look at your scores. You knew if you hit your routine, you could consistently place. And I think the same thing is true with the way that I execute business today. Is I actually make a list of 3 to 5 things that I need to do, and if I hit those or I scratch them off the list, a scratch off is a hit in today's world. I guess it's a little different, but I know that I've won the day. And when I win the day, I just have to win a series of days to eventually succeed, I guess. That's my whole strategy. You guys uncovered it in
one step at a time.
5 minutes.
Like in the first 5 minutes.
That's it. Yeah, it's a secret that's my secret.
So Anchor Boating, right? Anchorboating.com.
Well, it's anchorrides.com.
Anchorrides.com.
And
And like you're really doing some amazing stuff because like you've stacked this idea of shared rides with boats, which
Sure.
that's pretty like cutting edge. So like, where'd you get that idea?
So the idea itself originated 11 years ago when my best friend was killed in a drunk boating accident at Lake of the Ozarks. So we're from St. Louis. A lot of us are here. We know what Lake of the Ozarks is. It's this lake in the middle of the state, in the middle of Missouri, 2.5 hours west of St. Louis, about 2.5 hours east of Kansas City. And all summer long, people go there and they party, and we were no exception. My buddy was caught, no offense, Stu, but being stupid, right? And Stu was intoxicated, jumped on a jet ski for one of the first times in his life. I think it was the first time in his life. And 5 minutes later, he's dead, collided with a boat. The boater, again, intoxicated. So I saw that there was a unique problem here. I didn't see it right away, though. So for me, it was like I just didn't want to go back to the lake. I didn't want to experience it. I wasn't a boater in the first place, so I was like, see a lake. I'm not going back. When I did finally get convinced to come back for a Memorial Day weekend, I was like, hey, guys, I don't want to go on a boat, but if I have to, I need a sober driver. And that was so hard to find. And so we even asked the boat rental company that we rented from, and the guy kind of laughed at me and said, we don't do that. And I thought, there's a business right there. I could start a little side hustle myself, and this is all started as a side hustle under the name. It started as a company called Who's Your Captain? This idea of sober driving and alternative recreational boating solutions, right? And so we took this idea, grew it year after year after year, and we realized like this thing took off without us even trying. Grew fast, crappy business partner, really greedy stuff going on in a business that had great core values. We ended up selling the business, and I waited till my non-compete was up, and I started Anchor. And I thought this could be even better. We're only tailoring to people who have boats or have access to a boat, but there's a bunch of people out there trying to get on boats, or they're not at least using this service, that would love another alternative, that would love to just get picked up at their dock. And I got lucky because timing is everything, right? And Uber was doing what they were doing, and I thought, well, this works for boats, but it has a unique spin in that the water is regulated by the Coast Guard, right? So you got to do it right, and it costs a lot more to get this thing done right. But if you do it right, you have the solution, not just a solution. You have the solution. So that's kind of where it all originated, man. It was out of a problem. It's just a really big, horrible, traumatic problem, but a problem nonetheless.
So you said it's Who's Your Captain. It's not Who's Your Captain, as in like that term.
Correct.
Or
Don't book a Who's Your Captain. Book Who's Your Captain was our original business name, and now we're obviously Anchor, but that business does still exist today. I sold it to a gentleman by the name of Ray, good guy. Not sure what he's doing with the business today, or if we agree on the business model or the decisions he's made since I left. That's neither here nor there. Still offers a great service. But yeah, it originated from that. And then I thought, hey, what's the next step in evolution? You know, I was lucky enough to fall into the tech world, and I saw these companies like Airbnb and Uber just booming, and folks looking for ways to make money off of their undervalued asset, essentially. And so that's where we turned the corner, and we were like, boom, that's it. Boom. We create some technology, right? This aha moment. We create some technology that helps empower. Really, it was about empowerment of boat owners and empowerment of people who want to be entrepreneurs. How do we empower them? How do we give them the certifications? How do we give them the education? How do we give them the insurance that they need to do what they want to do? Because we all do something well, right? And these guys do something really well. They keep you safe on the boat. I mean, are you guys, just a quick question back to you guys. Are you guys, either of you boat owners or operators, are you guys comfortable behind the wheel of a boat?
I'd say I'm comfortable.
I'm not a boat owner.
I mean,
like,
somewhat comfortable.
Okay.
Right?
it's like a once a year
Like when
thing.
I have my 3 children with me, I'm like, and not drinking at all, like I'm still kind of like, especially like on the ocean with the pontoon, or like going like right through that, like there's that canal like in on the Gulf there. It's like if you get there too late in the day, like you're like, oh my gosh, why am I here? This is scary.
Right.
But the ocean is a completely different game than
This
a
is
lake,
true,
too.
But
So-
the Lake of the
Well,
Ozarks is
Lake of
kind
the
of like
Ozarks
the
on a
ocean
Saturday is
because
the
of all
ocean.
because of all the ocean liners at the lake, right?
Sure, and the lake is a unique. It's its own beast, right? But for me, it's not about that. It's about bringing people into this industry. The boating industry is kind of like handguns. You know, like I compare it to, and it's funny because my angel investor is CEO and founder of Springfield Armory. I don't know if you guys are handgun fans at all, but Springfield Armory is this awesome like tactical brand, and they're up there with Glock and Smith & Wesson. So boating is like handguns in that if you're not really well versed, or at least moderately well versed, you feel completely like a fish out of water. And so I wanted to make sure that people who felt like a fish out of water, you know, it's hard to explain to a boater that stepping off the dock and onto the swim deck of a boat is probably one of the most, you feel like you're stepping into another world, another country. And I wanted to share that experience with people, that anxiety that you get when you step on a boat. And it's like the boat owner doesn't necessarily get that because they're numb to that feeling anymore. There's no anxiety that exists there. So we wanted to just say, hey guys, I know you don't understand your customers so much. We do. And you don't even know that you have customers. You know you have people who are willing to pay to be on board with you. So what we want to do is create that type of an environment and say, hey, there's a business out there waiting for you. Your boat is your business. So that was really kind of the ecosystem we're trying to build.
So you mentioned just a minute ago about like the difficulties that you had with the previous business partner and like that whole, what we would call like a business divorce. And I bring that up. It's not obviously something to promote like for Anchor, but like that experience like brought you to discovering like the potential that you could have an Anchor.
I guess I owe
like just working through that, right?
No. Okay. Here. So while you're going through it, and inevitably, if you're getting involved in partnerships and you're an inexperienced entrepreneur, good chance you're going to get yourself into that type of a situation. It just is. 50% of marriages in a divorce, I think it would be probably higher for businesses. But understanding that and what it will help you learn throughout that is invaluable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I learned a lot from it, just to simplify it. I actually owe the guy for teaching me, like what not to do next time. You know what the mistake was is failure to create an operating agreement. We just had an idea on a dock. I mean, we had an idea literally on a pontoon boat in Party Cove. That's how the whole thing started. And it grew to a 6-figure business in a 15-week season. And we're sitting back, we didn't know what to do with it. We're kind of freaking out. And that was our own fault. But we learned, and now I don't make the same mistake twice.
So the advice for people out there that are getting ready to start a partnership, get an operating agreement.
Yeah, don't spend too much for it, but definitely establish the percentages, establish the contract, hire your own lawyer, for the love of God. Hire your own. Make sure that lawyer's interest has your best interest in mind. don't hire a lawyer for the partnership. So yeah, that'd be my number one advice is definitely start your paperwork off right. Start the business off on the right foot, right? If you're a sprinter and you're trying to win a race, your first 3 steps are your most important. So maybe treat it like that.
Wow. You started this business, which I absolutely love, because like, number one, there was a personal tragedy that gave you the idea to actually, like, without being cheesy, make the world a better place through your business, right? Because anyone that knows how it is on like a weekend or a holiday in boating world, there's a lot of drunk people out there on boats, wherever you are across the country. So like, you guys are ramping up, and you're really like, you're hitting it, right? You're on your way to Anchor being like a household name. So the question is like, what happens when you are a household? What happens like when you do reach that next level to where people think, hey, if I need a captain, I'm gonna like punch in my Anchor app and get this thing going? Like, what's the world look like then?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I try not to let myself go there too often. Most of the time I'm trying to think about what it takes to get to that point. And then at that point, like, what do you do after that? Is it the easy answer would be like, oh, you sit back on a beach somewhere and you sip a Mai Tai, but no. I've been there. I think a lot about like that would be like my product goal, right? My product goal is my end goal, like what I want to achieve. My process goal is how I'm going to get there. So I think a lot more about my process goals, but I get to that point eventually. Product goal being that Anchor is a household name, and it's global. It's the new way that you enjoy boating, because you can you can book a boat on our platform in 2 seconds versus 2 hours, doing paperwork and doing a walkthrough, and the way that boat rental is done today, or charters are done today. You can be assured that it's legal. Gosh, it's a beautiful world. For Zach, what does it mean for me personally? That means that, one, I want to help the next person improve something else, or improve something. If I can't find that person, I guess I would improve something else myself. I guess it doesn't stop my feverish my feverish need to like come up with ideas. Yeah. Right now, my ideas are all based around how do I make this business better. But so I don't know when I get there. Am I settled? Am I done? No. Do we sell? Well, if there are investors listening to this, yes, sure. But I don't know. I've always liked the thought of like the fact that Anchor can literally be the governing body around what is safe boating, and maintaining and regulating that, and then seeing what the future holds. I mean, we're talking about an awesome a future filled with technology that can yield autonomous boats. I mean, imagine that mega yacht that you've always wanted to go on is now captainless, crewless, supplies you with all of the champagne and steak and lobster that you need, and the price on that stuff comes down, and I don't, it just, my brain just explodes with ideas when I think like, because that's going to be 5 years in the future, right? 10 in the future. There's so many things that could be possible by then that we might want to venture into. That, gosh, that is like the toughest question I've ever been asked.
But you just went from, I have a captain and I can get to my destination safely, to a way, way bigger vision than that. So
yeah, well, yeah, always, right? So think about what actually is our product now, like what Anchor is able to do for you. We have an app, we have a service for captains, but those were all thought of years ago. So like thought becomes, and then you got to implement your process. We talked about that. And then you get a product on that back end. But like, so if I'm not thinking about what could happen in 5 years, guess what will happen in 5 years? Nothing, because I didn't think about it. So for me, it's more or less, how, I guess, yeah. I mean, I'm always thinking about what's going to happen in 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years, I guess, is as far as I'll let myself go, because 10, we're in space by then, man. We're in space lakes. We're on like, some moon, orbiting Jupiter or something like that. And who knows? And then now some astronomer is going to be like, there are no moons on, So anyway, and that's where my brain goes because I have a severe case of ADD. But no, yeah, I'm always thinking about what happens 3 to 5 years from now, and that's my job as a CEO is to see around the corner.
So, what's right now? You're online. You're obviously accessible in multiple cities. What's stopping you from going USA, worldwide, like in each city to get the cap? Like, what's the process to recruit the captains? I know you have like some Coast Guard training, and credentials. Like, what hurdle do you need to like overcome to go? To be in every city where there's lakes and waterways.
So, well, without giving away any kind of our secret sauce, and this is all pretty public. What Anchor's done is we've actually created like a factory. This captain curating factory. We make captains in our academy. We do it cheaper than anybody else. We do it faster than anybody else. We do it better than anybody else. Excuse me. So we have a supply that could actually meet demand anywhere else. So to scale nationally, well, one, we have approval from the Coast Guard to do so because we're doing everything compliant. We're actually going above and beyond and creating this school, this factory, as I call it, to crank out more and more captains. I can turn any boat operator out there who has some reasonable amount of experience into a captain, a real captain. And what that certification says is now you can make money with your boat. That's basically what it says. Kind of like a real estate agent. You can't sell a house, several houses or whatever. So that's not the problem. The supply is not the problem. It's really marketing and getting in front of the customer. So I guess the answer to your question is money for marketing and acknowledgement of what our service is and does. And word of mouth is great, but at scale, you got to keep everybody happy. So our number one goal is always to keep our captains happy. So anybody who comes on our platform is getting a tremendous amount of value off the water and on the water, continued education, a tool set that they can use to market themselves better, just all kinds of stuff. So for me, I guess what keeps us from scaling nationally is purely monetary based. And I wish that wasn't the case because a lot of people go, oh, that's a cop-out. But it is marketing. It is marketing it correctly because we are presenting something new to the market that they may have not seen before.
And I would imagine a lot of those areas that especially touristy areas where there's places where people can charter a boat or whatever, that they've kind of got the market cornered in those areas. Maybe.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's really insightful. So there are existing captains. I'm not creating the only captains. I'm creating new captains, right? So the existing captains out there right now, well, they don't take too kindly to new guys like me, young guys like me, relatively. I'm not young to me, but I'm young to them. Coming in their space and invading. And for lack of a better term, sometimes, and not in our case, but the guys who have come before us, bastardizing the space, right? Taking what they do, they've put a dollar amount on it, and then somebody comes in and tries to undercut them. Well, we're strictly against that. We let all the captains set their own rates for everything, so that's not our issue. But the existing captain supply is definitely, well, they're not our biggest fan always up front. Let's just say that. I mean, they don't understand us right away. They don't know if we're a competitor. They don't know if we're trying to help. And what is the first thing you do when something new is introduced? You're risk averse, right? So, granted, yes, there is an existing captain base out there. We're creating new ones. There's going to be some economies of scale issues that we have to deal with in that whole endeavor. But I just want to be clear in what I'm trying to deliver here is that not all captains find us to be the enemy, but a lot of them do. So we have to be very clear in our messaging when we enter a new market that we're not there to hurt their business.
And you bring up an interesting dilemma for disruptors of existing markets.
Yeah.
Right? They by definition are disrupting the status quo of the existing market. So for people out there that are thinking about doing something like that, what does that look like? Like, what is, like, number one, like, how do you go into a market, disrupt it, but then also keep the peace
Right.
and then win business?
Okay, rule number one is thick skin. Because if everybody likes you, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
If there are people who don't like you, you're doing something right. Because that's what a disruptor is, right? I mean, we call it that for a reason. So for me, it's I don't let people. You know, this is perfect. Okay, so you guys have heard now why I started my business. You guys know now I started my business because my best friend died, and genuinely, that's why I started the business. There is no hidden agenda. I'm still friends with his family. I go to many events, you know, year after year. I have dinner with Stu's, we call him Stu, Stu's mom. I had a guy one time on social media say, "You're just trying to make a buck off using your dead friend as a front, basically." And he didn't quite put it like, it was even worse. It's like way more graphic and horrible. And I was like, wow, man, people just have so much hate inside to like unleash. Like that was like way overboard, right? That's so overboard and so beyond what it could. So anyway, it just blew my mind about how mean and negative some people can be. And you know what? Get used to it. So what? People are going to be pissed off. People are going to be mad, and you're affecting their wallet. That's what they see. Show them otherwise. Stick in there. Stick in these groups. You know, my groups are easy to identify. My groups are on Facebook. They're fishing groups. They're charter captain groups. I can find them. They know more about the space than I do. So I chime in when I know something. I ask questions when I don't know something. Try to provide value to them like you would if they were like they were on your side, because they think you're an enemy, but you're not an enemy. So prove it. So I guess that, get thick skin, man. Because if you're disrupting something, people are going to hate you, and it could be a lot worse. I mean, look at the taxi cab rebellions against Uber. Look at the property management groups that rebel against Airbnb, which is just not even anything compared to the taxi cabs or the salty captains of the world who are tough guys. I mean, I've been threatened to be beat up. Like when people find out who the hell I am at Lake of the Ozarks, you know, it's like, oh man, you put my friend out of a job. I'm like, there's no way. My bottom line would be a lot better if I put somebody out of a job yet. So anyway, yeah, it's just crazy stuff. Get thick skin, get ready for it.
So
along those lines, like what if I'm I'm an entrepreneur. I've got my idea. You mentioned thick skin, but what other advice or encouragement can you offer to me if I'm coming up against that sort of thing?
Okay, so entrepreneur that is you're wanting to kind of unveil to the world like what you want to do. Well, first of all, don't be afraid to unveil. Okay, always share your idea. A lot of people are like, well, I'd like to sign an NDA, or I'd like to I don't know if I want to share my idea because somebody's going to steal it. Well, guess what? Very small % of the world are actually doers. And those who are doers are busy, okay? So share your idea, one. Second, do your idea. Do it at some scale. Had a buddy talk about his idea, and sorry, I'm going to share it, and I'm not going to mention his name. But he had his idea. He's like, oh, I want to start this like where people can go and pitch their business, right? And I said, well, why don't you just start with an email that goes out to people who are interested in something like that? I'd subscribe. And I was like, just start off somewhere, just start off somewhere. It doesn't matter where it is. Look at all the famous YouTubers and things that happen. They just started off with a microphone in a laptop and boom, fame, right? So for me, it's like, just do it. Best line ever. Nike. Just do it. I mean, come on. What's stopping you to do something?
So action over ideas.
Hell yeah, always.
I'm a big believer in that. I think as a creative and an entrepreneur, one of the first things that I read that was helpful for me was a book that was all about, the ideas don't matter. It's actually putting into action the ideas you have. And like you said, very few people will actually do what they're talking about. Like that's a very finite, small percentage of the population.
Yeah, and And again, I see a lot of people like we're here at Venture Cafe, so you have the type of people out here who have an idea or think they have a few ideas, and they're trying to venture around and shop it. That's the point of Venture Cafe, if you ask me. It's kind of like the name in itself indicates I'm walking around to tell people about my venture. I'm shopping my venture in this cool cafe of like-minded people. And yet I'll still meet a few folks here, and more than I'd like to, who are like, well, I have an idea, but I don't want to tell you. And I'm like, do you know how busy I am? Like, to steal your idea right now, which is mediocre probably at best, and no offense, but like most ideas are not that super great. But you have to be able to hear that, and you have to be able to hear that feedback, because what happens if you shopped and you did this and you asked 100 people about your business and only 2 of them got it? You might not do it. You might not waste your time when you actually come around to doing it. So share your idea. Don't be so scared.
That's a good place to end it. Anchor rides. So Zach, tell us everywhere where the public can, like, number one, book ride, like how you download the app. So just give us like the lowdown everywhere. Like, how can we get in touch with you?
All right, I'm gonna talk to a couple of people here. Let's talk to first our boat owners who want to become captains. Go to anchorrides.com. Click the Become a Captain section. You're gonna go into Anchor Academy, and I will reimburse 100% of your fees to become a captain. It is gonna be awesome, and you're gonna have the best school in the world. So there's that. Number 2 is anybody who is looking to book an experience on the water, whether it's Lake of the Ozarks this summer or you're wanting to go to Florida. We're launching in Tampa. Go to anchorrides.com and explore our website. You can find right now captains for hire if you're renting a boat or if you already own a boat. Very quickly, you're going to be finding charters. And then the most important part is download our app. So Anchor Passenger app is what it's called on the App Store. It's on Android, it's on iOS. And download the Anchor Passenger app. You'll be able to call and hail a boat charter right to the dock where you're at. These are public docks. These are your docks if you have a personal house on the water. So an extremely fun experience. And until you've used it, you really don't understand how convenient it is, because I literally have a boat to you in 15 minutes.
I can't wait to use it. I just can't wait.
I used it. Yeah. I use it myself, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I love it. And it's a lot of fun.
So my family's not my house, but my mother-in-law's house is on the Kansas City side of the lake. So don't ask me the mile marker, but it's like way out there. So can you still do the 15 minutes like on that? No. That's what I thought.
Just look on the app and see if there's a boat available.
There you go.
Yeah. So just like you would do, like when you wake up at 4:00 in the morning, you got to catch a plane for Uber. You're like, are there any cars out here? Do I have to resort to calling a taxi? Well, ours luckily are during normal business hours.
Yeah.
Our boaters are everywhere. So there's a chance that there's a guy in a slip next to you who's kind of waiting to go out if you're at one of the popular spots at any of the markets that we're in. So just go there, shop it, and if you want to send us, we have a little message in a bottle feature. If you want to send us a place where you want to see this service, you can actually send us a message, and we might have some demand, like a supply of captains there that we might just take your word for it and go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, rate, review. We'll see you next time.
For more episodes, visit innovationcity.co. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. If you're in St. Louis, visit us on a Thursday night. You can find details at vincafstl.org. You can also connect with us on social at We Are Slam or at Venture Cafe STL.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win.